Good evening and welcome to yet another awesome session of Mindful Living. We truly appreciate your taking out time and joining us on a weekday. Your joining the session today is a clear demonstration of investing in your learning about emotional freedom technique and elevating your life to the next level. In case your intention truly is to elevate your life, please type E in the chat box. If you want to learn about emotional freedom technique and elevate your life to the next level, please type E in the chat box. Thank you, Manu. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Shruti. That's a clear demonstration of your desire to learn about emotional freedom technique and elevate your life to the next level. All sessions of mindful living are guaranteed to improve your quality of life, and today's session is no different. Friends, please share with me which of these bulbs is burning the brightest. Please type in the chat and share with me which of these bulbs is burning the brightest and which of them is the dimmest. Please take a close look and type in the chat which of these bulbs, whether the left one is the brightest or the right one is the brightest or the middle one is the brightest. LMR, please type in the chat box which one of these bulbs is burning the brightest. Okay, the left one is the brightest. Thank you for sharing that, Manu. Anybody else? Which one of these is the brightest? Okay. While we are waiting for response from other people to come in, let me ask you another question. This is not to test your engineering skills, but just an understanding. Assuming that the voltage and the wattage is the same, what could be causing the difference in the brightness of these bulbs? To answer my own question earlier, which I asked earlier, the one on the left is the brightest and one on the right is the dimmest. Assuming that the voltage and the wattage is the same, what could be causing the difference in these bulbs to burn brightly or dimly? You can unmute and speak or type in the chat. There are no right or wrong answers. It is just trying to understand why these bulbs could possibly be burning. Clean glass, thank you for sharing that, Surya sir. Yep, that's a very good option. What else? Lifespan of the filament. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Manu. You can keep your answers coming in. The reason the bulbs are burning brightly or differently is because of the resistance that is there in the flow of electricity. If the resistance is low, the bulb will burn brightly, and if the resistance is high, there will be flow of electricity will be less, and consequently the bulb will burn less brightly or it will be dim. And friends, that is what EFT is all about. It is about clearing our resistances so that it helps us achieve miracles, achieve outcomes which are nothing less than compared to miracle. I got introduced to EFT about 2 years back when I learned EFT from Nitya Shanti, and I particularly used it for dealing with overwhelm. There were many situations in my life when multiple assignments came all at the same time, and I used to feel very overwhelmed. And then I tried EFT tapping or tapping to deal with that. And it worked miraculously. And that is the reason we decided to hold this workshop, because of the benefits it offers in dealing with stress, anxiety, health outcomes. And recently, one of my experiences was to use EFT for miracles. Would you like to know what is the miracle I have? Uh, What is the miracle I experienced? If you are interested in knowing the miracle which I experienced, please type OTM, open to miracles, in the chat box. Thank you, Mano. Thank you. Anybody else who is interested in knowing? Thank you, Surya sir. Thank you, Shruti. So let me share with you the recent experience I had. I was having a chat with Dr. Nupur, and she mentioned to me, Ashish, if you're looking at manifesting some outcomes, why don't you try tapping? And I have done that, as I mentioned earlier, for overwhelm, but this time I did a tapping for miracles. And as I was doing the tapping, I was less than miraculous. Within few hours of doing my tapping, one of my clients whom I was following up for a year, their CFO wrote to me and said that, Ashish, we have got the approval to go ahead with the purchase, and they made a payment of 1,500 US dollars. Soon after that, another client whom I had been following up for some time wrote a mail saying that, Ashish, you know, regret the delay in response. Your company has been listed as a preferred partner with us, and from now on, you will receive requests for proposals from our company. And she marked the mail to all her regional heads, and now we are, looking at starting doing business from them. Another of my prospects who had blocked my phone number, called me and said, Ashish, I understand you were trying to reach me. And then he arranged a meeting with all his team, and we are expecting at doing business from there also. At the then I got recognized by my institute. All of this happened on the same day. And the best part was, at the end of the day, one of my friends with whom my relationship had gone sour, he called, and our conversation resumed. So all of this happened in a day. And this is the beauty of tapping. When we tap, which is something which Dr. Nupur calls acupressure, without needles, the resistances in our body go, and the miracles start happening. And that is the reason we invited Dr. Nupur to conduct this session for us. This is a amazing session. It's a very simple technique. Most of the work that we do in mindful living is dedicated to improving the quality of life for working professionals. Hence, we keep stuff, hence we talk about techniques and tools which are simple to implement, don't take too much time, but have very solid proven outcomes. And that is the reason we invited Dr. Nupur, because she brings a lot of science to this practice. And in a minute from now, I'll be introducing her to some of those who are joining my mindful living session for the first time. Also, the session is divided into two parts. The first one is for 60 minutes, which is all about knowledge and science behind EFT. And the next 30 minutes is for those who want to take action on the knowledge and elevate their life to the next level. So if you are an action taker, please type 80 in the chat box. If you are an action taker and you want to elevate your life to the next level, please type 80 in the chat box. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, Urmi. Thank you, Manu. So we have quite a few action takers. Welcome everybody to the program. And Dr. Nupur does not need an introduction to those who are from the mindful living community. But for the benefit of those who are joining us for the first time, Dr. Nupur is a specialist in oral medicine and radiology who transitioned into mind-body medicine. She's a certified meditation teacher, specializing in techniques like medical hypnosis for subconscious mind reprogramming. She has been doing path-breaking work at an NHS hospital for last 5 years, offering her services to cancer and trauma patients. Her research has been published in European journals and has won award. Dr. Nupur, welcome to the session.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you so much. Lovely to be here as always. Thanks to Mindful Living for organizing such a wonderful session on a very powerful topic, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's present here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nupur. So friends, how many of you are joining a mindful living session for the first time? If you're joining a mindful living session for the first time, please type FT in the chat box. Please type FT for first time in the chat box if you're joining a mindful living session for the first time. Thank you, Manpreet. So for the benefit of those who are joining a session for the first time, I'll take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I'm the founder of Mindful Living. This community started in April 2020 when the first lockdown happened. Few of my friends reached out to me and requested me to conduct a mindfulness session for them to help them deal with the stress and anxiety that the lockdown was causing. So over a weekend, I conducted a session for a few of my friends. One thing led to the other, and today we are a group of 3,000 people who are actively involved in learning, practicing, and sharing about mindful living. In case you are interested in joining this community, please click on the link that we have shared in the chat and join the community. You can only join this community when somebody invites you to join. You won't see our ads anywhere, and you won't get an opportunity to join otherwise unless somebody invites you. This is a very safe place for you to learn and share about mindful living mindfully. There are no good morning, good night posts, no religious texts, no political messages, only messages about living mindfully. So that is the community we invite you to join. We'll be sharing, we have shared the link in the chat. You can click and join the community. Before I hand over to Dr. Nupur, few groundkeeping rules. Please use the reactions buttons to share your feedback, appreciation, love, or raise your hand in case you have a question. We'll be taking question and answers towards the end of the session, but please stay engaged during the session and keep sharing your questions with us. Please keep your camera on so that it facilitates interaction. As I invite Dr. Nupur to speak and she puts up her slides, take a couple of seconds to reflect on your intention to join for the session. Why have you taken out this 60 to 90 minutes to join the session? What is the outcome you want? How learning EFT you think will benefit you? Are you here for health outcomes? Are you here for wealth outcomes? Or are you here for your career progression and dealing with stress, anxiety? What is it that you are seeking? Please take a minute. Once we set out our intentions clearly, there is magic that happens. So take a couple of seconds while I invite Dr. Nupur to come and take the session forward. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashish. Yeah, it'll be lovely to hear from the audience what has inspired them to join. What is it that they are finding challenging in their life? What is it that they would like help with? What is their inspiration to learn EFT? And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about. But just take a moment and ask yourself, if I had a magic wand and I could get this issue out of my life, what would it be? What maybe can EFT help me with this? And I'd love to hear a few responses in the chat. So if you can share it in the chat, that'll be lovely as well. I'm just bringing up my slides. So while you're thinking and reflecting, please feel free to share it in the chat box. Thank you. All right, let's go over some responses that we are receiving. Okay, elevating mental and emotional health. Okay, that's lovely, Shruti. Nice to see you. Welcome to the group today. Okay. It'll be really nice for you all to think about this question that Ashish has put out in the group, because half the battle is in framing what we want to achieve. Sometimes we don't even know what we want. We are struggling to consolidate our problem statement. So the more effectively you can consolidate your problem statement and say that, one of the most powerful things about EFT is that it is very specific. It is so specific that when I'm working for chronic pain management in the hospitals or for my patients and clients, I tell them, be very specific. Where is the pain? What exactly is the pain happening at what point? So, that's the power of specificity. So asking yourself this question, as I'm seeing some of the answers coming up, limiting beliefs, and that's again a very powerful one. A limiting belief can be translated as something what Ashish shared with us, resistance. A lot of times we have resistances to get better, to move forward in our lives. And that is where these limiting beliefs and sabotaging behaviors come into the picture. Okay, how to handle responses without getting emotional. So a sense of self-control, self-restraint. We call this something which Shruti has mentioned, emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is a huge part of emotional freedom technique. So let me ask you this very powerful question, since one of the participants has mentioned about managing emotions. What do we mean by emotional freedom? So please go ahead and think about this question and share it in the chat, or if anybody wants to unmute themselves and speak up. What do you mean by emotional freedom? What does the term and this picture, it's such a beautiful picture. What does, and it's August, is the theme of independence. It's Independence Day in India. So what do we really mean by emotional freedom? Anybody wants to unmute themselves and speak, or you may even want to write it in the chat. That's absolutely okay. Okay, getting rid of the conditioning, yes. Free, okay, free. Okay, being independent to feel happy, okay, not finding a reason. Okay, wonderful. These are very powerful answers. Emotional freedom is one of the foundation of this technique, this almost, if I can call it, an energy psychology protocol, emotional freedom technique, very vastly used in clinics all over the world these days to manage a variety of issues that we will come to. But something that has been very powerfully recognized in the mind-body medicine field, which is the integrated medicine space today, is the fact that our emotions have a very massive impact on our physical health and our psychological wellness, our mental health, right? So all the emotions that we feel, sometimes we don't know how to process them, right? Very rarely are we taught what it is to be emotionally intelligent. That is not a part of our curriculum at school. That's not a part of our conversations at home. So we don't really grow up. Most of us don't grow up with understanding what emotional intelligence means. We are either suppressing our emotions, we are either repressing our emotions, or we are over-expressing our emotions. Addictions to substances happen, or addictions to food and sugar happens when we are trying to numb a part of our emotional experience, our pain, our a sense of fear, our sense of sadness, our sense of bereavement, any intense emotion. When we are not able to manage that, baggages that we have been holding on to since perhaps we were young children, baggage of a sense of abuse that might have been done, physical, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, or bitterness, resentments, inability to forgive, holding on to grudges, really thinking that anger is a very valid way of reacting, getting really angry, thinking that unless I am angry, how will people work, and people don't behave properly. So, a lot of this is what we carry in our energy field. And now we are understanding that true freedom comes from releasing all of these low vibration emotions. because these emotions get trapped in the body, and that's what is manifesting as diseases. These emotions get trapped in our processing of our thoughts and our behaviors, and these are creating limiting beliefs and sabotaging behaviors, which are preventing us from living a life of abundance. So whether we want to grow in our professions and careers, or whether we want to get good health, it actually all starts from within us. So emotional freedom is the foundation of this protocol, this energy psychology tool. So let's understand a little bit more about the power of emotions. Emotions can be called something as energy in motion. Yeah, emotions are very powerful. They have vibrations, they have frequencies. And this is what was recorded by Dr. David Hawkins. Now, this is important for us to understand that the emotion that we are feeling, first of all, needs to be felt. We need to allow ourselves to experience it. Secondly, we need to be aware what I am feeling. What am I feeling in this moment? Because every emotion that you're feeling has a vibrational frequency. And this is what Dr. David Hawkins recorded in his research. And his research is presented in a book called Power versus Force. So if any of you want to read in detail about this, please go ahead and pick up that book. It's one of the very powerful foundations that we refer in emotional intelligence and managing our emotions in mind-body medicine. As you can see that this is the graph that Dr. Hawkins came up with. The emotions, though they are mentioned as singular names, are not singular. Anything of a similar nature falls in that category. So bitterness, resentment, shame, guilt, they are all very low vibrational emotions. He recorded them through a modality called kinesiology. And that's what he recorded, that these emotions are keeping us in a very low frequency. And that's why sometimes when you are feeling a certain way for an extended period of time, your thoughts are feeling like that. And you tend to attract very similar situations in life also. Till you realize, oh my God, I have been feeling like this. Let me do something to get to feel better or to do better. Because those emotional states keep us in a very contracted energetically, in a very contracted state, almost in a state of being victim. So there is a level of consciousness that he said is associated with every emotion, like a state of being victim, a victim consciousness versus a victor consciousness. So these are the emotions that are present when we are talking about emotional freedom technique. We have to understand that even though you may be understanding this technique for your health, your pain management, your symptom management, certain chronic health conditions have very difficult symptoms. I work for a lot of cancer patients. So, when you're going through chemo, radio, you have side effects that you have to manage. So side effects of therapies, techniques, side effect of treatments, all of that, has an emotional burden to that. So whatever you are going through, whether it is a career aspect, will have an emotional aspect to it. Frustrations at work, so understanding what is my emotional set point. This is what this scale is telling us. Find and become cognizant of what is my emotional set point. Because unless you do something to raise your emotional bar, say from a feeling of guilt, shame, bitterness, resentment, to something more powerful like courage, neutrality, pride, willingness, acceptance, you will be in a very contracted state. And that contracted state will have impact on your physical body and on your behavior in terms of your aspirations, whether it is financial or otherwise. So this is something very important, because when we are doing EFT, we are actually going to be releasing a lot of buried emotion in the body. So whether it is emotions, whether it is trauma, now science is telling us all of them get buried, stored in the body. And that is what causes blockages. So EFT, emotional freedom technique, is a tapping technique. And what are we doing in tapping? We are tapping at the end point of energy meridians, right? This is a technique inspired from traditional Chinese medicine. Obviously, a lot of research has gone over the last many years. Different people, initially it was Dr. Roger Callahan who was doing thought field therapy. And from there, EFT was inspired by one of his students, Gary Craig. So this modality has gone through a lot of transformation. But now what we are being presented with is decades, maybe 2 decades of solid research that has come into EFT. So how are we releasing the blocked emotions and blocked issues in the body is by tapping on those acupressure points on the body. So instead of using those energy meridians where the blockages happen in the body because of our various challenges, instead of using needles, we are trying to tap with certain statements on those endpoints of those energy meridians to release, to rewire our brain networks, our neural networks. A lot of aspects are happening in EFT. A lot of mind-body medicine concepts, like I will be talking things about neuroplasticity, I will be talking about epigenetics, because this modality is now telling us that the changes that are happening with EFT are at the cellular level, at the DNA level, and at the neural level. And the changes are almost permanent. That means, as I'm going to progress, I'm going to tell you that the things that you are healing are almost permanently healed. There are rarely any relapses. So understanding the underlying mechanism, as I said, that we are activating or deactivating signals to the brain areas. Okay, so when we are tapping, as I said, we are tapping on the energy endpoints, and we are going to experience this session today. We are going to be tapping together today. With tapping, we say certain phrases. So phraseology is very important. You know, what we say and how we tap at the endpoint of those energy meridians in the body, we are either activating or deactivating our brain networks. So this is not just something which is happening at the level of energy, though that itself is very profound. It is creating physiological changes in the body, right? And it generates certain electrical signals. And this is through a principle of mechanosensory transduction. So we have certain things called, we have a connective tissue called collagen. That is a very powerful tissue, which is the connective tissue in the body. There are studies that are telling us that has a very key role to play in the way these messages get transferred, the electrical signals get transferred in the body, right? Also, there are studies. So you have to understand that this is a relatively new modality. When I say that, it's maybe 40, 50 years old. And the research that has happened is only in the last few decades, like couple of decades. So this is still under what can I say, under you know, the radar of researchers and scientists, but we have enough information to tell us now that this works. Some of the data that has come, and also, so there is something we have in our science, in the field of science, something called research, independent research, where people are studying 20 subjects, 30 subjects, 15 subjects. And then we have something called meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is when we are looking at multiple researches together of a particular type, right? Even meta-analysis studies are showing the efficacy of EFT. We are finding out that EFT has the ability, just 1 hour tapping, to change the gene expression. And our genes are our genetic material, the DNA. At that level, it's happening. And when the gene expression changes, what happens is it impacts their physiology in the body. So whether it is increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased pulse rate, your your respiratory rate, all of that, there are signs to show that it is starting to auto-regulate a lot of these things for us to feel better. It is considered to be one of the most powerful stress management protocols. So what is an indicator of stress? There's a hormone called cortisol, right? Cortisol is the stress hormone of the body. It's very important for us to function healthily whenever there is anything in the body. It's a very key hormone. But the problem happens when we are in a chronic state of stress or anxiety. That's where the cortisol spike happens. And when the cortisol spike happens, that's when we get cardiovascular issues. We get a high blood pressure. We get strokes. Our digestive system down regulates. Our immune system down regulates. And that's why we get chronic gut issues or very low immune changes in the body. So EFT is actually happening at these levels. It is upregulating the brain function, right? I'm going to be talking about a couple of studies as well, where fMRI changes are seen in the brain, right? fMRI means functional magnetic resonance imaging. That means while somebody is doing something, the brain scan is happening in action while they're doing that. And pain management, very powerful technique for chronic pain management, helping people to reduce their dependency on medication. Okay, because pain medication itself has many side effects. So all of this is the impact of how EFT is really working. Again, as I said that, EFT is working on certain meridians. I'm going to come to that a little later. These are the markers, as I said. So there are studies that are telling us specifically that these cortisol is going down, anxiety and depression and PTSD is going down. The biggest thing is that immune markers are going up. And this is what we need to survive. Otherwise, as we have seen in COVID, how difficult the human race had gone through 2-3 years of complete difficulty. Immune systems were getting suppressed and taken over by these new viruses that were attacking us. So this is all where everything starts to change. Your quality of life improves. So anybody who is going through depression, sadness, struggles in life, if their quality of life improves, they get, they start moving up that emotional guidance scale that I just showed you. If your happiness quotient goes up, you start to find the ability to live life with meaning and purpose. So these are huge. These are like life-altering markers that the research is telling us that EFT is able to help us with. So as I said, that tapping is done on certain points of the body, and these are the endpoints of energy meridians, right? So every point that we are seeing here is actually corresponding to the energy meridian of the body. And these, like suppose this is the under eye point. This is the endpoint of the stomach meridian, right? These are these channels that have been, these were considered to be energy meridian channels as per traditional Chinese medicine. Till, as I said, the last 2 decades, massive research happening. There was a Korean study that was done in which scientists actually injected dye into the body to see that whether these channels actually physically, physiologically exist. And lo behold, they found that this is actually not just energy channels. These are actually real vascular channels, which are smaller than capillaries, right? So they started to call them something like primovascular system. These are, so when you're tapping, you're now not just tapping at the energy meridians, they are physiological ducts smaller than your capillaries that you are impacting, right? So this is again a very huge study that came up because before that we thought it's just an energy meridian channel that we are tapping on. So for example, you can see that when you have very deeply buried emotions. So I have been doing EFT for, I'll come to that, but specifically talking about the stomach meridian endpoint, like, this is the stomach meridian. This is the endpoint of the stomach meridian. A lot of emotional baggage like anxiety, worry, resentment, bitterness, self-loathing, self-criticism, self-worth issues get healed when we are tapping on the stomach meridian. And it's amazing when people have gut issues like acidity, irritable bowel syndrome, or bloating, which is also a part of IBS, or any other issue with their gut, digestive disorders, sluggish digestion, we are seeing that when we are starting to tap, people are finding huge relief in their gut issues and also their emotional. So their confidence levels are going up. This is all because the body has been storing these emotions in those passages, in those energy meridian channels, right? So that's why it's called an emotional freedom technique. It's giving you freedom from all of these baggages, traumas that you've stored in the body, and therefore impacting you at the physical level. So your health improves drastically, as all the studies are telling us. Applications for adult and children, this is something which I have personally worked for, though there are so many more applications of EFT, much more than what I'm sharing on this slide for you all. But this is something which I have seen significant changes in. And I say children because children take very powerfully to EFT. Children these days have their own challenges. Stress and anxiety is very high in children. I work with children who self-harm as well. Children get bullied. They're not able to express what's bothering them, but they feel it very intensely in the body. They don't know how to respond, so they withdraw from studies, they withdraw from play, and impacting their development. So EFT is considered to be one of the very powerful modalities for children to help their release their challenges of bullying or fears or relationship issues, even trauma for that matter. Children get abused as well, so for that also it's very powerful. Pain management, as I said, emotional burdens, PTSD, again, post-traumatic stress disorder. Stress and anxiety is very commonly used words these days. And I want you to just understand that stress has a deep impact on the body, to the point that our immunity, our inflammation in the body goes up. Inflammation. So when we are going through stages of stress and anxiety, massive inflammation happens in the body. Our cortisol levels go up. We lose sleep. Insomnia happens. And I have worked specifically with a lot of people who are going through these conditions, whether it is insomnia, whether it is fibromyalgia, ME, or PTSD. The relief that these people get from EFT is beyond words. It's considered to be like a magical tool for so many people, right? Because everything now you're understanding is coming down to your managing stress and anxiety. And EFT is a stress management, because we are seeing that the cortisol levels are drastically going down, right? So as I said, that any modality, if it is touching our genetic makeup, then that is a very powerful technique. So far, we have been told that we are a victim of our genes. If there is something in your gene pool, but obvious, you will express it. So we live our life from a lot of fear. Oh my God, what if, because there is a BRCA gene in the family, what if I get breast cancer? Or what if, because my family has got obesity, hypertension, what if I get all of that? Now, what we are seeing is that through this modality, there is a down regulation of as many as out of 72 genes are getting impacted, many genes are getting down regulated, right? Now, this is very important to understand, that this is a concept of epigenetics, which is telling us you are not a victim of your genes. You can actually either switch on or switch off your genes by your behavior, by your thoughts, by the environment in which your genes are. So there's a switch on and a switch off. So that gene will then not get expressed. And you may, even though you have hypertension in your family, high cholesterol in your family, you may not get that because of epigenetics. And EFT is one of the ways in which you can down-regulate or switch off certain genes, or up-regulate and enhance certain aspects of your health. So all of these, and I'm quoting all the studies as well. So those of you who are very interested and scientifically oriented, you can go over these. But this is the impact of this modality. Before we actually start to come down to experiencing this modality, let me talk to you about a study that was done by a team of scientists. This is from Bond University, Australia. This was a study where they studied, I think, around 15 overweight adults with food cravings. Yeah, so they were almost overweight, obese adults with massive food cravings. Now, one group was subjected to 4 weeks of EFT, and the other group did not receive EFT. They were just under observation. We can see that this is the group that received EFT, where my cursor is, and just in 4 weeks, the response, the brain areas in response to the images of the food that would activate cravings and hunger in these participants, literally, which is these areas are being lit up before the study. These are all the yellow, orange, and red areas. There is absolutely deactivation of those areas. This is huge. If you can control the brain areas which are causing you to want something, crave for something, desire something, and eat it, that is then what is causing your uncontrolled eating habits, binge eating. That gets diminished completely, right? So this is a clear indication that the brain's neural pathways were rewiring, and their desires were to, so once the neural pathways get rewired, they don't get triggered. They don't even want to eat those foods, even though they are seeing them or they have them at home, their desires are not getting triggered, right? So that means these people and these patients will not indulge in that. Similarly, with stress response, what we are noticing with EFT is it is changing your neural pathways. So the same things which would give you anxiety, panic, and stress earlier are not getting triggered. So this is the way this modality starts to work. And very powerful changes. Again, in PTSDs, post-traumatic stress disorder for war veterans, we are seeing that their levels of anxiety and depression and crippling nightmares and flashbacks started to reduce. Because people who have fought wars, who are soldiers who are at the war front, cannot come back they cannot just have a normal life. It's very difficult for them. They get plagued by nightmares and flashbacks. And PTSD is a phenomenon not just for war veterans, though this particular project was for them to help them and see what their changes were for them. But PTSD is for any of us who's gone through a stressful and a traumatic thing, because trauma is, again, very personal. First, I have worked with children, with young adults who in their younger life got traumatized by a teacher who made them stand up in front of the whole class and kind of caned them. That was trauma for that child. Being told that you are not good enough and you can never get to anything in life is trauma. So the trauma that we have experienced growing up, most of us have, that is what we are now seeing, as you can see statistically, very powerful with EFT, right? Also done in schools. This is a very interesting thing which I want you to understand, is that EFT can be done independently, individually, or it can be done in a group setting, right? Today, what we are going to be experiencing together is going to be a group tapping session, which we are going to come to in a moment's time. Studies have been done that are telling us that group EFT tapping is so much more powerful than individual session, that it is actually reducing our cortisol, the stress hormone, by as much as 43%. So that's very huge, right? So this is the power that when we are tapping together as a group, this is what it does to your system. Of course, that doesn't mean you can't learn this technique and practice on your own. It still has a very powerful effect. But because we have a community, so tapping together is something very powerful and can really shift you in your emotional, mental, and physiological parameters. So your blood pressure levels, your heart rate, your pulse rate, everything starts to get normalized, right? So because of this, we are launching, as you've understood that EFT is such a powerful protocol, the workshop that is being designed is to be able to tap together. So we are going to create the workshop that's happening with EFT is to help you to learn the protocol, learn the technique, and then understand how do you use the phraseology? How can you use it for different modalities? Because this one tool can be used in multiple spaces, whether it is to release your limiting beliefs, to help your pain management, or to get over your mindset of lack. So the basic protocol is really important. How do you phrase the words is very important. So once you learn that, you can use it for many things. So these are the things that we are going to be talking about in the workshop. The details of the workshop are that it's going to be a 4-part workshop. But the focus will be on pain and physical health in module 1. It's going to help you to manage your stress and anxiety, your panic, and any other issues that you have. Some of us have crippling anxiety issues. Panic attacks happen, because of which then your health gets impacted, your sleep gets impacted. Self-sabotage. What is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is literally this man sitting on the same branch and trying to cut it. Self-sabotage is when we have certain, limiting beliefs. We believe those limiting beliefs. Some of them we don't even know we are operating from. And we then are not able to progress in life because we are coming so powerfully from those limitations. I am not good enough. I don't deserve this. You have imposter syndrome, you have procrastination, you think being perfectionist is a good thing, but all of those are sabotaging your growth. And that's what results in your financial challenges, in your career challenges, in your family challenges, right? So this particular workshop these are the main areas that we are going to be focusing on. And especially if you have children or you know children in your family that may benefit from them, having learned this modality, you can tap together with children. If your child is bedwetting, if your child is having stress, anxiety, if they are not able to express themselves, they have a massive fear of performance in school or in any aspect of life, you could actually do this. Once you've learned the protocol, you can help them. So, you know, it's a very powerful tool, as I say, to uncover, unlayer, and unburden, you know, our subconscious, which is where all of this is stored. So that's the you know, intention of this workshop that's coming up in August. As I said, it's a 4-module workshop with module 1 on stress and anxiety. Of course, you learn the entire protocol. Module 2 is on emotional intelligence, understanding the power of emotions in your physical symptoms and physical pain, actually learning tapping for physical challenges. And then the third one is for abundance, whether it is your financial, whether it is your relationship, you know, understanding how do you manage your limiting beliefs and overcome self-sabotage. Then bonus session will be a session which will be done after a gap of maybe a week or 10 days. Once you practice the protocols, we will address your challenges. And then also we will be doing a protocol on, as Ashish mentioned, which is a very powerful protocol, miracles, attracting, becoming a miracle magnet. In between these sessions, there is so much that is covered in this workshop that sometimes 1.5 hours is not enough, which is the duration of each session. I do tend to share a lot of videos for you to practice in between sessions, right? So there will be a lot of support that will be given in between sessions. So the only requirement from you all would be a desire to change and really commit to the practice, because once you practice this tool, I've had patients who have learned it for managing their pain or their fear. Phobias is again a very powerful area. Like I was working with a patient who had needle phobia, very severe, and this person had to get a chemotherapy intervention. Otherwise, she would have really regressed in her treatment. This person had to overcome their phobia of needle. So again, you know, you learn it for one problem, you overcome that, and then because you have learned this technique, you can use it whether you're sitting in a dentist chair, whether you're going for your interview, whether you have to give a pitch in your business workshop, or you're just managing a difficult relationship at home. You can use this tool for anything. So really commit to the practice and you'll be able to see how powerfully it works for you, right? With that, I'm going to stop this presentation. I'm going to ask anybody who wants to volunteer to do an EFT session where we spend 5-7 minutes in actually doing the tapping so that you all can experience it. So anybody who wants to volunteer right now, any particular stress or anxiety that you are experiencing right now, or any pain that you have right now. So go ahead, anybody who wants to volunteer. I'm going to be very happy to take you all through a round of tapping where we will all tap together as a group right now. So any volunteers? Anything that's bothering you? You could even pick up something that has had, I know it's late in India. Anything happened today that bothered you, that you're feeling really bogged down by? You can pick that up. Any volunteers? Anybody would like to say any issue that they would want to get help with in the next 5-7 minutes to tap? You don't have to switch on your video. You can just put it in the chat also. Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Nupur. So nice
Hello,
to
my
see
dear.
such
Yes,
a beautiful session, an eye-opener. So randomly, I can think of a lot of things, but one thing which I really want to get rid of is I have this addiction to checking my doors again and again to check if my cylinder is off, because in the past, since my childhood, many times it has so happened that I've caught that the stove is on by mistake. So maybe that fear has been there always, that what if it is on, what if something happens? So will EFT also help in getting rid of these unwanted fears and phobias that one has?
Yes, absolutely. As I said, EFT I have personally used for people with needle phobia, claustrophobia, fear of flying, fear of heights, and also somebody exactly with your issue, Shruti, I have worked with. Every time getting delayed to leave the house,
Yes.
because they had to check this multiple times.
My husband is always making fun of me. He's like, we've seen it, it's all done. And yesterday only had this incident with my domestic help left it open again. So every time, something happens that make me realize that, I have this need comes in, and I waste a lot of time before sleeping, take this multiple round of the house before leaving the house for some place. I have to check it again and again. So I think if this is healed, I'll save so much of time in my life.
Yeah, you will, and you'll add a lot of value to your quality of life as well. So this is a typical example of how a behavior gets ingrained. There are neural pathways around a behavior connected to the past, and certain emotions of fear and stress get triggered. So EFT is exactly how it will help you is to recognize the behavior first, then create new habits, new neural pathways, and then overcome this. So absolutely something that you can use for, but this is something more, I would say like a thing that it's a behavior. So I can't demo that right now, but of course, once you do the protocol, we can definitely do this.
Sure.
But let's anyways, maybe I can ask Ashish or Urmi if you guys have anything that you want to, because I know you have attended all the workshops. And Ashish, if there is any typical issue that is bothering you right now, any pain, any anxiety, any stress, then that is something we could do a tapping on.
I think overwhelming.
Okay.
Overwhelming with too many things, managing kids, this kid getting cranky the way the moment I entered home. So I think overwhelming is what is coming to me right.
Okay, so let's do a 5-minute tapping so that we can all experience that. Overwhelm is a very beautiful thing. Overwhelm has got nothing to do with, Urmi, for Urmi, it might be a different reason for overwhelm. For Shruti, if it might be different. For Ashish, it might be different. But we all feel overwhelmed.
It's very
right?
relatable, actually. Multitasking.
Yeah. So and we know that group tapping together is very powerful. Now you have enough science telling you that, right? So let's all try a session of tapping. I'm going to ask you all, those of you who are present and who can tap together, if you're feeling a sense of overwhelm or stress, you can call it stress also, give it a score. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being very crippling stress or overwhelm, and 0 being no stress or overwhelm, what score do you think you're at right now? So go ahead, give an intuitive score on a scale of 0 to 10. Like it could be a 7, it could be, I would say right now, because I'm doing a live session of EFT, for me, it's a 5, right? Okay, so for Urmi, it's a 6. So give yourself a score. That's called a SUDS level, right? Now what we are going to do is, I want you to start tapping with me. Right now, you don't have to learn this. Just follow me blindly. The protocol you will learn if you join the workshop. We start here. This is called the karate chop point. Even though, and you have to say this loudly in your spaces, even though I feel this sense of overwhelm, I deeply and completely accept myself. We say the statement 3 times. Even though there is so much to do and I'm getting overwhelmed and stressed because of this, I'm ready to honor and accept myself. Even though there is this feeling of overwhelm and I can feel it in my body. My body is feeling so restless. I'm ready to honor and accept myself. Okay, now you're going to be tapping on certain body points like I'm tapping. But if you have any problem in that, suppose you have a pimple, you have a sore point, then don't tap in that area. So miss out an area if it's hurting you. Don't please injure yourself further. We're going to start with something called the eyebrow point. All this overwhelm. Side of the eyes, this intense, never tapping on the soft tissue of the eyes, always on the bony points. All this overwhelm. You can say all this stress also, if you're doing it for stress. All this, so much to do and so little time. Getting bogged down by all the burdens. not having enough time to do everything that I need to do. All this collarbone point, this is your collarbone, you tap here. All this overwhelm, feeling overburdened. Below the armpit, it's a 0.4 inches below your armpit, you tap here. All this intense overwhelm. This feeling that I'm drowning under work. This feeling that I cannot cope with so much that's happening. Top of the head. All this anxiety that is happening because of this overwhelm. Feeling so restless in the body. Inability to breathe deeply. I can see how much I'm struggling, shallow breathing. All this stored stress of the day, all the overwhelm, this unending to-do list. It never finishes. All these frustrations, all the frustrations of unending to-do list. And my body is always feeling the fatigue, feeling tired and restless. If you have any physical symptoms, you can even say that. All this knotting in my stomach, all this burden in my heart, feeling this pain in my shoulders, anywhere in the body if you're feeling. I am so fatigued and tired. All this restlessness, all this overwhelm, inability to sleep, fearing tomorrow as I wake up with the same to-do list, more tasks to do and not enough time. Dreaming of the to-do list, all this overwhelm, so much I have to juggle. I'm ready to release all of this now. I'm ready to release all of this overwhelm and stress. In this moment, I choose to let go from my body and from my mind, all this overwhelm. I release it now. I choose to release it now. All this restlessness, all this overwhelm. It's leaving me effortlessly. I'm releasing all these thoughts and memories. Anything that's triggering my overwhelm, I release it now. I allow myself to rest and be calm. I come back to this present moment, knowing that I'm doing my best. And as I rest and as I relax, time expands for me, as I know that time is just a concept. As I allow myself to relax and trust my abilities, I know that time is expanding for me to allow and accommodate all of this. And so it is. Just finish this round by saying, I relax and I release. I relax and I release all the overwhelm. Now, obviously, we are doing a very, very shortcut version of the whole protocol. This is just for you to understand what this entails. Just keep saying the words, finish your round wherever you may be. And I want you to put your hands down and take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in and breathe out from your mouth deeply. Breathe in again. And breathe out deeply from your mouth. And the third in breath is the deepest. Breathe in and hold. And let go from your mouth. Just allow your eyes to be closed for a few moments. Feel how you're feeling in the body. Feel how you're feeling in your emotions, in your mind. Notice any rest that may have settled into you. And now go back and score yourself and see, even if in this 5 minutes of a rapid fire demo round, if anything has shifted for you. Any scores have come down. I surely have definitely come down. So getting into the habit of scoring your issue is a technique that is taught. We become a little more clinical in our issues, right? It's called the SUDS level. We notice how the score was and whether the score has come down. That's a very powerful way of quantifying. Otherwise, we spend lifetimes in saying, oh, I'm stressed, I'm angry, I'm upset, I am stressed. How much are you stressed? How much have you got relief? You know, so this tool makes you very powerfully aware of your problems, quantify them, and then become aware of the reductions that they happen. Because the more you register the reductions, the more they happen for you. That's the way the brain works. It rewards what you focus on, right? So the ability to quantify your problems and challenges is again a very powerful technique that you're going to be learning in this workshop. So those of you who practiced and tried, it's good. I'm getting some feedback. It was calming. Yes. It feels light. Yes. It's 2. Okay, that's a big score down. And remember, it was very few minutes. So this was just a demo round to get to understand what it is all about. So thank you. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Ashish. Ashish, maybe you can run through when the workshop is happening and all other details. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nupur, for that very insightful session on EFT. Before we move on, I'll just request Mr. Surya Vijay to ask his question. He says asthma is bothering him. So, Mr. Surya, if you could just ask your question while I'm pulling up my slides to move ahead.
Yeah, how to cure that?
Right.
How to cure, yeah.
Yeah, so we are learning the tools to manage a physical condition, and you will be learning the protocol, and you can use it in module 2 will be all about the health. So you then will learn how do you manage your asthma. What are the symptoms? What do you feel? So you will be able to learn this tool to help you with this, with all this. Asthma is a very broad term. We break it down into what do you experience, what do you feel, and then you tap with that, and you tap around increasing your ability to help your lungs, the smallest parts of the lung, which are called the alveoli, the bronchioles. At that level, how can we influence? So absolutely, it should definitely help you in managing your asthma. Curing is a very different word. Yes, that is your intention, but start with learning to manage it. So the protocols of EFT are when they are working for so many managements of pain management, symptom management. Definitely you can learn it and help your asthma management with that. Absolutely you can. For that, the only thing is that you have to really practice the protocol and tap every day and not just wait for a particular day when you get asthma attack.
Tapping points are limited. Right?
Say that again, please.
Tapping points are limited only, but those are applicable to many applications.
Yes, because we are covering all the energy meridian channels in these points. And these are not the only points. We will learn something called the 9 gamut procedure, in which we will use the finger points. Thank you for asking that question. We are going to be using our finger points. We are going to be learning a 9 gamut procedure where we are tapping on a very powerful gamut point again. So these are the points which I have told you. As I said, the time is limited. There's only this much I can share, but there are many other points. There are certain master points also. 1 point here, 1 point near your ankles, 1 point near your elbow, wrist. So there are a lot of other points that we will be discussing. So, definitely. And as I said, 9 gamut procedure is a very powerful procedure of EFT, which now nobody teaches. But this is something we are going to be discussing in workshop, because we know that when things become, sometimes you say that, oh my God, it's not shifting. This problem is not shifting. That's when we use the 9 gamut and we use finger points. So yes, sir, we'll be using many more other points beyond this.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for asking that question, Surya sir. So now we will move forward with the next part of our workshop. of the session where we will share details about the workshop. So those of you who are interested in elevating your life to the next level, please type LE in the chat box. Dr. Nupur has shared the knowledge about the EFT procedure. Now, application of knowledge is what we're going to talk about. Thank you, Dr. Urmi. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, Parveen. Thank you, Manu. And what we will also be happy to hear from you is what is it that you're going to use this technique for? What is it that you're going to use the technique of EFT for? Please think about it and share in the chat, whether it is for your health condition like Surya sir mentioned, or managing emotions of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, or for inviting miracles. What is it that you're planning to use EFT for? Please share with us in the chat and how you think that will improve your life. And while we are waiting to hear from you, we will move forward in the interest of time. Albert Einstein says the insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. In our life, many times we feel trapped, that we are doing so much efforts, but there is so little result that we get, or suboptimal results we get. But we keep doing more and more of that. We get less results, we do more of that, and we wonder what is happening. To break that pattern, we need to do something different, and EFT is that technique which can help us achieve different results. I'll briefly share this story with you, which also you would have experienced in your life, that in a room, when a bee enters, it gets attracted to the window, and the window pane is closed, but the bee just keeps going and banging itself against the window pane. And then, it keeps on trying. The window is closed. It gets tired. It falls down and dies. All the bee needed to do was to turn around and see that the door is open, and it could have easily flown out of that. The same thing applies to us. We keep banging our head against certain people, against certain emotions, against certain challenges, and we expect magically the window will open and everything will be all right. All we need to do is turn and take a different way out of our solution. So on that note, I invite you to invest your time and money in learning this beautiful technique, which will help you invite miracles to your life, elevate the quality of your life. In terms of time investment, there are 3 sessions spread over Thursdays and Sundays, 17th, 20th, and 24th August, 1.5 hours each, plus 1 bonus session. So total time investment is 6 hours. And by investing this 6 hours, you can definitely take your health, happiness, and well-being to a completely different level. As it comes to investment of fees, a single session is worth 3,499 rupees. 3 sessions plus 1 bonus session is for 5,999 rupees. And including 1 coaching session, the fees is 9,999 rupees. Dr. Nupur is for a coaching session with Dr. Nupur, a single session itself cost £100. So here, for that money, you get the entire workshop free. So in a way, that's a no-brainer. And in case you would like to enroll for this workshop, you can Google Pay or Paytm using this number. And once you have remitted the fees, please share the screenshot with us so that we can welcome you to the program. All these sessions in the program will be live, and that is the reason our students have very high completion rates. For other online programs, you may find that the fees is 1/10 of what you are paying here, but then the completion rates are also 5 or 10%, as against 95% completion rates that we have, because we form a community, we form a group, and there is very active engagement that happens through the course. So, there is high level of engagement and motivation to complete the program. One of the questions that we get from the participants is, what if I miss the session? Don't worry, all the sessions are recorded, and the recordings are shared in the group for you to watch. And then there is a bonus session which you can watch which you can attend to get your questions answered. You can also post your questions in the group and get them answered by the faculty. This is our 3rd workshop that we're doing. The first one we did was in August 2021. The next one in August 22. And this is the 3rd one. And any guesses on when the next workshop will be? It'll be August 24. So don't wait for a year. take this time out, only 6 hours over 4 days, and invest yourself. And the skills that you will learn here will stay with you because this is something that you practice. And you have seen how simple this practice is. Once you learn it, you can keep practicing it on your own all the time or in groups. It may have happened sometime that you signed up for a program, but it didn't work for you, in which case we are very happy to offer you a 100% money back guarantee. At any point of time you feel that this does not work for you, no questions asked, we will refund this money to you. Sharing the details with you once again, the single session fees is 3,499, 3 sessions plus 1 bonus session, 5,999, and 3 sessions plus bonus session plus 1 coaching session is 9,999. I work in the corporate sector, so I understand the importance of return in investment. That is why we are very conscious that our programs offer high return on time invested and high return on the money that you invest. And on that note, I'll just invite Dr. Nupur to take us through the contents of the program once again, and to see if you have any questions or comments around what we are going to be covering in the program.
Right. Thank you, Ashi. So, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. We have 3 modules and we have a bonus session. So that's 3 plus 1. In between the sessions, there'll be videos that will be shared. Like literally today, suppose we are doing how we did as a group. We tapped together for stress and anxiety together. Now, if somebody says that, this is particularly giving me a lot of stress and anxiety, I don't have time to cover it in that session, then what I do is I record a video of 15 minutes and I give it to you to practice in between or in your own time. Also understanding what I have not mentioned in this is module 2 is about release, emotional and also physical issues. Now we have to understand that something which Ashish talked about, resistances. We all operate from a very high level of internal resistances, which are limiting beliefs and they cause us to sabotage. It is not mentioned in any of these modules, but without releasing the resistances, we cannot find any changes and shifts. So that is going to be a very important theme that is going to be in every module. And if you have any specific things that we come up as a group, then I will release those videos also in between these modules. So we can only have it, as I said, time is only 1.5 hours for each session, but between the sessions, we will be also sharing things. And then the third one is to release specifically for your careers, your finances. Now, I have had people who say that we are homemakers. I am not working. That doesn't mean that you don't have right to financial abundance and independence. So changing our thoughts, our beliefs, changing the way we think about things, and then releasing those doubts and those resistances and going towards abundance. So changing from a mindset of lack and moving to a mindset of plenty and abundance. So that's what the intention is. And then opening yourself to allow and receive. Once you release your baggage, your sabotages, your limitations, then how do you allow abundance? That's about becoming a miracle magnet. So bonus session is going to be about that, irrespective of what challenge you have in life. So that's the breakup of the workshop.
Thank you for those details, Dr. Nupur. That helps. And thank you, Shruti, and thank you, Dr. Urmi, for joining the yeah, sure, Dr. Urmi will be happy to hear from you on the benefits of the other workshop. Just give us a couple of minutes and then we will hear from you. As I was mentioning earlier, you may Google Pay or Paytm using this number 9871448227. In case you would like to pay by credit card, the link is being shared in the chat. You can use this link to register by paying through the credit card. The advantage of mindful living programs is that you get membership to the mindful living community, where we invite world-class speakers every weekend to speak on different topics, which is about living consciously. Here are featured some of our speakers who have done world-class work, featured in HBR, LinkedIn Top Voices, people who have grown their business 1,000 times, 500 times, and created enormous wealth for themselves and for the community. So we have these speakers coming from time to time. And the other advantage is, most of the training programs I have attended in my life, you never get to meet the trainer again. But when you're a part of the mindful living community, of which Dr. Nupur is also a part of, and many of you are a part of, you are always engaged with the trainer. So if you have, it's not that the program gets over in these 5-10 days. It's a year-long journey. It's a journey, lifelong journey where we travel together. As you might be familiar, we take very few participants in our workshops to ensure high quality of engagement participation. In this workshop, we have restricted the number of people to only 20. We had a session last weekend also, and a lot of people have registered for the workshop. So I would urge you to hurry up and make sure that you are the first 20 people who are enrolling for the workshop. So there is limited time. Please hurry up and join. The Google Pay and Paytm details are here. The credit card details have been shared in the chat. And in case you would like to make a bank transfer, the details are mentioned here. You can take a screenshot of this, remit the fees, and let us know once you have remitted the fees. And for those who decide to join, take action and join in next 24 hours. So by 9 p.m. tomorrow, you get this very beautiful Mindful Living t-shirt worth 1,400 rupees. The shipping for this t-shirt is free if you live in India. If you are living outside India, the shipping charges are extra. But the very beautiful, very classy Mindful Living t-shirts come to you if you join within the next 24 hours. And now we open up the session for question and answers. Anybody has any questions, we would be happy to hear. In case Dr. Urmi is here, we'll be happy to hear your experience of the previous workshop.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to allow me to share my experience. I have attended workshops with Mindful Living that Dr. Nupur has conducted. And one thing is for sure that return on investment is definitely very, very high. And what I love about this is the community. Like we all go in together. And if the same thing, we have to do it on our own. If we are facing some challenges, if we have to do it on our own, it would take a lot more time, a lot more resources. But here it happens with a lot more ease, with less time, and it's smooth. And of course, group support is always there. So I'm really looking forward to this. Also, what I like about it is how Dr. Nupur brings science to it. Like I know EFT, I have done it, but the way she explains it, it brings a different angle. It brings a different meaning to the same values. So thank you so much, and really looking forward to all the sessions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your lovely words. It's also because you are one of such a dedicated practitioner, and that's why Dr. Ummi has seen a lot of significant shifts in our life in the workshops. So the only commitment I ask from people is practicing the tool, because as they say, the proof of it lies in in eating of the pudding. So please go ahead and practice whatever you learn in the workshop, and I can guarantee you this tool is a life-changing tool. And there is so much exciting things awaiting us in the workshop together. Two of my favorite people are joining, Shruti and Urmi, so I'm already very excited about it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Urmi. Thank you, Dr. Nupur. We are happy to hear any other questions or comments that people have. Looks like no more questions or comments. One thing I would like to share before we close is about the immunity. I'm sure each one of you would have had your own takeaways. One of the things which Dr. Nupur mentioned about was immunity. I'm sure you would have in your close circle, friends or family, seen people who got conjunctivitis or people who have got fever, viral, dengue, or so many other things. And here is a tool and technique which can help you, boost your immunity, which is a big thing, when there is so much going around, to remain healthy, to remain productive. to remain a contributing member of the family, society. Your workplace is very, very important. We'll be happy to hear from you. What has been your one takeaway? We have got a couple of minutes. We'll be happy to hear from you. Your one takeaway, like I shared mine from the workshop today, and then we will bring it to a close. You can unmute yourself and speak or type in the chat. Thank you, Parveen, for sharing your message. We'll wait for another minute to see your responses.
The word miracle has caught my attention somehow. Keeping everything aside, I'm really looking forward to explore the unknown. So that's about it. So waiting for a magical journey ahead.
All right, Shruti, most welcome. On that happy note, thank you everyone for taking out time and joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the week ahead of you and look forward to welcoming you at the program. Watch out for the mails where we will also be sharing some of the resources that you can use to learn tapping on your own and continue benefiting from this awesome practice. Thank you, Dr. Nupur. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Bye-bye.
And
Take
good
care.
night. Bye.
Bye.